Hi everyone, this is John, and I'm in LA. In the last few weeks, we've had a lot of, I don't know how to put it, mildly craziness. There's been a lot of protests in response to George Floyd being killed by police. And in LA, where I am right now, there's been a lot of protests, there's been some riots. But for the most part, it's been peaceful. But we had the National Guard out here. They're gone now. The street I'm on now is called Fairfax, and there was a lot of, I don't know the true events, I don't know how to describe it, but there was some violence broke out. I don't know if it was a response to the National Guard or police or what the order was, but a lot of businesses were destroyed. But for the most part, it was peaceful here. While I was out exploring just to see for myself what was going on, I found this large mural for Black Lives Matter, and it lists a lot of names, most of which I don't know. I only know a few that just have been in the news over the years. I think they're black men, mostly black men's names. I'm assuming they've been killed. So it was pretty sobering to see how many there were. And as I saw it the other day, it reminded me of a book I have on Mother Teresa, where it's her in her own words. And it reminded me of something where she talked about hearing Jesus say, "Her name, I thirst." And I wanted to read the passage to you and give some thoughts on it. She says, "Sometime back I had a letter from a priest, a holy priest. He wrote a long letter and he said that he was praying without a thought about us. And then he heard Jesus clearly say to him, 'Tell Mother Teresa, I thirst.' He didn't mean Mother Teresa only, but he meant each one of you. Try today to hear your own name and Jesus saying, 'I thirst.' What will be your answer? Hear Jesus saying it clearly. Be convinced that it was Jesus who said it, and I am very..." And she continues, "Grow in that intimate love, and you will understand not only I thirst, but everything. Humanly speaking, we cannot understand, love one another as I have loved you, or be ye holy as I am holy. But it all comes under I thirst. The fruit of faith is the understanding of I thirst. Get rid of sin quickly so that we can hear Jesus say, 'I thirst for your love.' The most important thing is that we must encounter the thirst of Jesus. But the encounter with Jesus' thirst is a grace."
Because how can we love God whom we don't see? St. John says, "How can you say that you love God whom you don't see if you do not love your neighbor whom you see?"
So when I was driving by and I saw the say their names, and thinking of these words, I was reminded more of Mother Teresa, where I have this audiobook of her where it's her telling stories. And in her stories, she always refers to the people that she was helping, people in the street dying, covered in worms, maggots, lepers, different people. She always referred to them as being Jesus himself. So connecting that with say their names and I thirst, I wondered, these people that I don't know their names, but I stopped to hear Jesus say, "I thirst." And it gave me a moment to just pause and look at their names. I don't know them, I never knew them. I only know 3 of the names. But it got me thinking about, a lot of discussions that I've seen on Facebook that I've participated in, or I've just read, where on some social circles there's the reaction and the need to protest, to take to the streets, to say an injustice has been done towards George Floyd, and now many others. And we can't tolerate this. Where there's other groups that would say, in reaction to hearing Black Lives Matter, they would say, "Don't all lives matter?" And it always comes with this like dismissive tone of like, yeah, it sucks what happened to him, but all lives matter. We shouldn't be outraged. We should, I don't know. There's just this weird dismissiveness, and I guess I'm taking a bias by saying, we should take time to listen to these people who have been hurt. To stop and hear Jesus say, "I thirst." If Jesus is looking for our devotion, and Jesus is thirsting for our devotion, to see Jesus in these people who have been hurt or are hurting, or where society shuns or overlooks, how can we stop to pause and hear Jesus say, "I thirst"? What's it like to be thirsty? I don't often go without, having water around me, as most people do in the United States, but to think, I thirst, I long for this, I need this quenching, there's refreshment. If you go without water for long enough, you get sick and you die. To hear these people cry out to say, I thirst for love, I thirst for dignity, to hear Jesus say that. And on the flip side, there's people who maybe dismiss the need to protest. And to be fair, to listen to them to say, why is this such a big deal, like, to protest? Like, why is it a big deal? Why is it so offensive to see people protesting? And, just as much as the protesters and the people that have suffered long to be loved and deserve dignity, can we echo that dignity back towards the people who are against protesting? Seems kind of weird, but it's a question, I think, if we're to meet in the street, to meet in the middle, we're just thinking, okay, if Jesus is in these people that are hurting, is Jesus also in the people who, I don't know, is it jealousy? To think, why do they get attention and I don't? I know people that, you could say, I know people who work hard and never get any recognition. They play by the rules. They never get any recognition. And yet, there's this dismissiveness towards people.
Jesus said, I was hungry and you gave me to eat. Hungry not only for bread, hungry for love, for the word of God, for the tender concern of somebody.
To stop and look at someone's name, I think sometimes it gives a face to statistics. We always read statistics, so many people died of coronavirus, or so many people died in police brutality, so many people die in poverty. To see names, to me, it connects. It's not just a number, it's a person. And each person has, a face, has a family for the most part. So I start to think this person is not just another number. And, it's sometimes to hear someone call your name for you to help me, that's very personal. It's not just, a TV commercial like, starving kids in some other country, or, to think, you. It's, sometimes, just speaking for myself, it's easy just to roll up a window and ignore what's around. But when you make that eye contact with somebody, when you find out their name, for me at least, when I make eye contact, it's like a instant okay, this is personal. I can't just overlook it. I know that person saw me, I saw them.
Naked, and you clothed me, not only with a piece of cloth. Nakedness is that loss of that beautiful human dignity of the child of God, the dignity that have been created to love and to be loved, the dignity of that beautiful virtue, purity, that we keep our purity pure.
So I want to end on this thought from Jesus himself in Matthew 25. He says, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was a stranger and you let me in. I was in prison and you came to me. And he says, his disciples asked, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or naked or in prison? And Jesus said, whatever you did unto the least of these, my brethren, you did it unto me. And often I always hear just I was hungry, you see a homeless person, or I was naked, clothes, but to hear something like I was in prison, often I associate people in prison as guilty people, like they do wrong things. And I'm not trying to suggest any of that for these people, but I'm trying to suggest, we have hang-ups on who we help. To think, okay, it's easy to say, okay, let's help the hungry, let's help the hurting, the clear needs, the obvious needs, but to think, okay, someone in prison, we might not agree with what they did to be in prison. And to hear Jesus say, I was in prison and you came to me. Jesus is the spotless lamb. He's the Savior. He's Lord. And to hear, I was in prison and you came to me. Now, we could justify that as is that just a political prisoner like Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela or somebody like that? Or could we equate, let's say someone who's a drug dealer, someone who's murdered, someone who's raped? Who are these people that we justifiably shun to say, they're guilty, why should I help them? And to think, what are some other hang-ups we might have about helping people we don't even know? I don't know anything about Black Lives Matter, to be honest with you. There's a big fist for their logo, and I don't know I don't know anything about it. But sometimes when I find out more about an organization, I don't know about Black Lives Matter, but others, I'm going to think, I don't want to be associated with that. I don't agree with their philosophy. But when you put people under that umbrella of they belong to that philosophy, therefore I don't agree with them, therefore they don't deserve my help. We start lumping people under categories of worthy of help, unworthy of help. And Jesus would say, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was naked, I was in prison, and yet you came to me, you helped me. So sometimes I think learning to pray and to think for yourself, as yourself, what does it feel like to thirst or to be hungry, to be in need? What does it feel like to be guilty? We all need love, we all need forgiveness. So to think of your needs as the needs of others. You know what it feels like to need. You know what it feels like to thirst. And to hear Jesus say, I thirst. Please come.
I thirst. I thirst. I thirst for souls. Come to me. I thirst.
I was was homeless and you took me in, not only for a house made of bricks, but I was homeless, unwanted, unloved, a throwaway of society. But today we have right here in our country, we see the poor people, we see the young people with that disease, unwanted, unloved, a throwaway of society. Are we there to be that love, that kindness, that thoughtfulness to them, and share with them the terrible pain, the terrible feeling of terrible loneliness, being a throwaway, have no one to be somebody to somebody. This is the nativity of Jesus, being poor, being born as a poor. Hail Mary,